Well, welcome, internet world. I'm petting Socks. You can't see her, but she's right in here. And I'm petting her. So my sister put up. Okay, so she's not my biological sister, but I call her my sister. I guess we're closer than my sister is. Anyway, so we're talking, and I just wanted to share some things in concerns the accuracy and truthfulness of medical and psych records. I don't really have anything negative to say about my medical records that I've seen. Socks, you want to say hi to the world? Oh, there you go. See, I don't look up at the camera. Oh, I'm a little chubby girl. I'm a little scaredy cat. Anyway, so I don't really have, put it another way. As far as from all my, from the medical records that I've seen, they're accurate. Sometimes I'll see something in a medical record that I didn't know about, or I didn't realize, or maybe I misunderstood, or something like that. As for psych records, oh boy. Let me tell you a story. I was at this awful hospital called Nick Specialty in San Antonio. Is it on Vance Jackson, I believe? I think that's the name of the road. Never ever go there. On my old channel, I made a video about that hellhole. I mean, they will assault you for nothing. So, I was at the Knicks once, and I'm sitting there with this shrink, right? And I have no idea what his name was. And we just went through whatever the interview, and so he stops and he starts to dictate over the phone to his dictaphone at his office, and he starts saying, well, the patient is doing this drug and doing that drug. I'm like, number one, no, I wasn't. Number two, I never said I was. Number three, I never even came close to implying that I even ever tried those drugs. And I'm sitting there looking at him dumbfounded, like, what the hell are you talking about, guy? But, especially at the Knicks, you don't say anything, because if you say something, then they're going to say, well, you're violent or you're disruptive, so they'll put you in restraints, they'll shoot you up with drugs. It's crazy. The staff are violent there, but the patients aren't. Not that I ever saw, and I was there several different times, and I saw several acts of violence by the staff. I never saw a single act of violence by the patients. I don't have my records from the Knicks, so I can only go, I can only go by like that incident. My psych records from Devereaux, there's a lot of stuff in there that's not true. I mean, a huge amount of stuff, and I don't have them in front of me, and I don't actually have a whole lot from there anymore, because I had a stack like that thick from there that was lost in the fire. I don't talk about that, but anyway, so if I had that stack, I could go through there and I could start pointing all sorts of stuff out to you. I do have a few pages, but that I got this year, I believe, and it's mostly admissions, discharge, and maybe diagnoses. There wasn't much in the way of diagnoses. What did they say? Maladjustment to adolescence, I believe, is what they called it. you know, I've tried to get records from other places, but by law they're only required to keep records for a certain amount of time, and then they're destroyed. Some places keep them forever, other places get rid of them. So, chapstick is the cold weather that dries out the air and my lips get chapped. So yeah, I know, believe me, I know about that kind of crap. It's sad. There's a book, The Lives They Left Behind. It's a really good book. I really enjoyed it. And I think that's the title. There was an old state hospital that was closing. You can find the book on Amazon. I might even try and provide a link to it while this is uploading. There was a state hospital that was closing, and they found in the attic a bunch of suitcases and steamer trunks and boxes and stuff like that. And they went to match up the people's belongings with their records. And in some cases, you know what? There wasn't a damn thing wrong with those people. But they got locked up, and it's like nobody cared to actually investigate what the patient was saying. One lady said she had been a nun, and the hospital said no, she had never been a nun, she had made all that kind of stuff up. I think that was I think that's correct. That is part of, you know, that is one of the stories. I think I'm correct in this one. I may be mixing two stories together, but turns out she was in fact a nun. She had been one. And in a number of other cases, patients had come in and people, you know, and they had said they came from this environment or that environment, and the hospital didn't investigate and just said they were lying, when they weren't. They weren't lying at all. They were telling the truth. And you know, patients would get put on you know, heavy-duty antipsychotics that they didn't need. One lady, she was there into her 50s, 60s, 70s, something like that, and they decided to discharge her. They said, would you like to leave? Would you like to go home? She said, this is my home. Where do you think I'm going to go? All my family, they're dead now. I have no place to go. You know, I don't like it here, but where do you think I'm going to go? And, you know, my wife and I were talking the other day about when I was in Devereaux, and was asking me, do you think it's still the same? And she pointed something out that was it was good. I mean, she spotted it before I did. And you know, now that place, the one I was in Victoria, Texas, now they deal with foster kids. You know, she's like, well, just because they're dealing with foster kids doesn't mean they're not abusing them. And that's true. They could still be doing the same crap they did back then. I mean, you know, you have the administration that brings in people just like themselves, and they hire staff like the staff they already have. So yeah, they probably are still abusing kids. I'm not saying they are, I'm just saying I'd say a good 90-95% probability that they're treating the kids the same way they treated us. And believe me, that ain't the way you treat kids. I'm in my mid-50s, and I am still affected by the abuse I went through, not just there, but in other places. I had a great childhood up until the time we moved to the United States. Then all hell broke loose. And sadly, I don't have a whole lot of good memories of my youth. after that. But yeah, so psych hospitals will, not just psych hospitals, psychiatrists, social workers, psychologists, the daily staff, they'll write stuff down for all sorts of reasons. Sometimes just because they have to write something, they'll write something down. If it's true or not, they'll just make it up because they're supposed to write these reports, and maybe there's nothing to report, so they'll just write something down. Other times they may be thinking about another patient, or because they do deal with people that are freaking nuts. I mean, we're having to deal with that right now with somebody. Hey Misty, you want to say hello to the world? This is Misty. She's a baby. She's not even a year old yet, are you, Misty? Oh, what is Daddy looking at? Oh, yeah, I don't have a tail. Daddy keeps teasing me about that. Yeah. But they do deal with people that are freaking nuts. So maybe they get it in their head that everybody's that way, but since everybody's not that way, they shouldn't do that. And my mother had a friend who was freaking nuts, and she's still practicing. I don't know, she's what, a licensed professional counselor or a social worker or something like that. Frankly, she has no business being in that profession. And that's just it's sad. I think the people that write stuff like that should be held accountable, but how are you going to hold them accountable? I mean, I guess it would probably be it could be a criminal matter because they're falsifying medical records, right? Now I guess you could also take it as a civil case, as slander or something, I don't know. But who do you think's going to believe who? I mean, the judge, the jury, are they going to believe somebody that is labeled as somebody who's insane, or are they going to believe some shrink? And I think we already know the answer to that one. And Misty, you going to knock stuff off? Don't step on the keyboard. Now, when she was just a baby, she could walk on the keyboard without even pushing the keys down. She can't do that now, though. Right, Misty? She's a purring girl. But, yeah, believe me, I dig what you're saying because I've been through it myself. And another problem is that you can have 20 psychiatrists and you get 20 different diagnoses. And that's not right either. You could be going through a hard time that may be lasting hours, days, weeks, maybe a few months, and you've never gone through it before. You've never going to go through it again, but you get that label on you, or whatever they label you as, and it sticks with you for the rest of your life. And that's not right. And I do believe that these people should be held accountable for saying these things. And when staff are abusive, they should, if they're physically abusive or sexually abusive, or they allow those things to happen, then they should get arrested and go to jail, and in some cases prison. But they work with crazy people, so who do you think anybody's going to believe? You think they're going to believe the person reporting the abuse, or are they going to believe the shrinks and the staff? Sadly, we know the answer to that.